Hello guys and welcome to a quick tutorial on how to make a headshot of the player character, right? Basically the kind of headshot you see in the Warcraft or Starcraft or Dota, right? You have like an animated 3D shot of the player character on the UI, right? That's the thing we're going to try to do. To start with, we need to first explain what's going on currently in the level. We have a widget called WBP in game UI, and in there it doesn't have anything, but it's the one that's getting created and added to the viewport, and that's all there is. So basically whatever we add to this particular widget blueprint will be on the screen when we play the game. That's all there is for some basic boilerplate. All right, to start with, I need to go ahead and create our C++ class. Okay, and this one will be, of course, also a user widget. And next, and this one will be called, I'm going to call this headshot renderer or something like that. Okay, and create image, create class. So this will make a C++ class. And one thing to be always aware of is that when you're using some UI functionalities, we need to have the, oops, it's compiling still. Let me reload all, wait for that to be finished. It's gonna take some time, I guess. All right, I think it's finished. Now back here to my Visual Studio. In the build.cs file, you need to actually make sure that you have the UMG in the dependencies. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to compile. There is going to be some linking error. All right. So this headshot renderer is a user widget that's in charge of rendering out the headshot. Okay. So we need some basic facilities here. One of the things is something called a preview scene here, right? So the type f preview scene, preview scene. And this one, of course, we can forward declare it, class f preview scene, and we can just call this guy preview scene or something. This particular type is used to do things like snapshot. If you control click on it to fan it, I guess we can't. We're gonna have to be able to fan it when we have the header file, I guess. So let's also add in a constructor then. It's not the constructor here, it's the one of the functions called native construct. I think of this one as the begin play, but that's not absolutely accurate, I think. But this is the place that you need to set up your members. So in here, then I'm gonna say, hey, well, our preview scene will be created in here. Okay, so preview scene will be equals to, let's also include the preview scene. I believe it's just called preview scene. And then we need to construct one here. That's going to be like this. So you say preview scene equals to f preview scene. And we're going to actually do in the new keyword. We can wrap this around, of course, with a shared pointer in the future. Otherwise, we'll have to manage the memory ourselves. Okay, new f preview scene. Oh, have a typo there. And then this one also has a particular construction argument. F preview scene colon construction values. This type gives you whatever you need. And notice that this one, of course, returns an instance of that construction values. We can set one thing in that particular instance, which is to be not editor, because this has to be in the game, right? We don't want it to be an editor, which means that if you look at the, now we can see it. You can see the comment here, right? It's saying that this one encapsulates a simple scene setup for preview or thumbnail rendering, which is basically what we need, right? That's why we're using this. And if you look into the members, you can see one of them is called preview world, right? And it's of the type U world. So basically it's creating kind of like a secondary world that we import stuff in and render them. That's the idea here. All right, back here to our hashout renderer construction. And then after we have that, we can already be trying to see if it's working. I think we can actually have it be ticking there. One thing that's problematic with the preview scene is that it doesn't really automatically tick the world it's containing. So in the default settings, even we instantiate its preview scene, it does a lot of things. If you look at the constructor, you can see it creates the world, right? And yeah, there are new objects, and does all the setups, and does all the game mode, game instance kind of thing. It doesn't tick. Okay, so the reason I think is because the Unreal Engine's core concept or core philosophy is to have only a single world. So it doesn't like multiple worlds. So there is some workaround that you have to tick the world yourself. I think that's what that is. So we need to do the tick function ourselves, basically. So I'm gonna call this this function is called native tick actually. Void native tick, and this one takes two arguments. One is the geometry, and then this is going to be my geo, and the other one is the good old delta time. Right, we'll override that. And then here we need to first of all call zipper native tick, right? Native tick. And then we'll take my geometry and then the in delta time. Oh, in delta time. Right, that's gonna be the two the function that we need to take. And then I'd like to make this a function so that I can call whenever I need. So this kind of function will be called void tick preview scene or something. I'm gonna call this guy begin and tick preview scene, and you'll see why in a minute. And this one will take in delta time. And then we can just say, hey, if the preview scene, let's get the world first actually. Your world, or let's call this guy preview world, will be equals to preview scene get world. And then if the preview world is begun play, which means it's already begun play. We want to check if it's not begun play, and we can also check if the world exists or not. The same if statement, and then we can say, okay, well, we can do the begin play, right? And the begin play will be done through a iterator throughout the actors. So for f actor iterator, and this one requires the engine utilities header, I believe. So engine utilities f actor iterator which will be initialized by the preview world as the argument, and then we can do iter and then iter plus plus, right? And then we can do iter lowercase I and then dispatch begin play. That's how we begin play all the actors in there. And then we can then also do preview world, and then begun play equals to true. So that way we're basically having like a boolean to do it only once, because we're gonna call this in a tick, right? So begin and tick preview scene. That's why we call it begin and preview and tick preview scene, because we're also doing the begin play part. And then when that's done, then we can take the preview scene. We just say, hey, preview world. Then we do tick. Now I think about it, I haven't been checking this one there, so it's better to actually do this. If not, preview world. Let's just simply do a return. That way I'm sure that preview world is in there. Okay, and then we can take it. So the tick will be saying that we're gonna do two arguments, right? One is the level tick type, level tick, and colon tick all, of course. And then the delta second will be in delta second. That's the delta time we are having here. Okay, so this is taking the preview scene, and this one is the begin play of the preview scene for the preview scene. Okay, all right. At the moment, we cannot really see anything yet, but hopefully this makes some sense, right? We made a preview scene, we do the begin play and take in the tick. Now, one last thing to do before we test it, just to make sure that it's not leaking memory, of course, right? We can also do native destruction so that we can destroy it. I believe we can just override the begin destroy. Void begin destroy. Begin destroy. Oh, that's why I have a typo there. So basically, we need to do the delete. Make sure that we already are not deleting it already. So if the preview scene, then we delete. Do two things. First is to delete it, and then secondly we do preview scene equals null pointer. And because we made it a private member, so hopefully no one accesses it, only us. So that way it should be safe. And then we just call super begin play. All right, now if you are more like a modern C++ style, you can do T-sharp pointer to manage it yourself. No problem in there either. All right, so we have the all these things set up, and then I'm going to go ahead and compile it. Let me just go back here to the editor and click on the compile. Right, so again, what we're doing here is just initialize a preview scene, get it managed, and then get it started and ticked. Oh, got an arrow there. Oh, it doesn't like that. Plus plus either is the one you should use instead of either plus plus. I guess it's enforcing some performance benefit there to use the plus plus instead of plus plus something versus something plus plus. This plus plus something is actually a bit faster because this one returns the original value, which means that you don't have to have a copy. And either plus plus gives you the value after iteration, which means you need to have a copy, if I'm not mistaken, or yeah, some old stuff there. Okay, all right. Maybe I'm wrong on that part. Maybe it's the plus plus iter maybe is returning the new value. Yeah, that should be the new value. This one returns the new value. Iter plus plus returns the old value, which requires you to have a copy of that old value in order to return it. I think that's the problem. Let me compile one more time. Feels like we're okay this time. Okay, that's 14 minutes already, so I'm gonna pause the video, and then moving on to the next one, I'm gonna show you how we can set up a scene that we can add into the preview scene. Right? Set up something to get into the scene and then get it taken. All right, I'm gonna do that in the next video. Okay, see you guys next time.